This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Good Sunday for everybody. We know that the Browns play today. And I just wanted to talk to everybody before I get on this live stream at 1 o'clock. Make sure you join and check out the Browns game with me. But I just wanted to talk today about this game, what I think needs to happen, and what I think matters and doesn't matter. Now, let's first start with the quarterback position. A lot of debate about the quarterback position. DTR heads, Joe Flacco heads. At the end of the day, I see this as something that's not really going to affect the outcome. I think Joe Flacco, DTR, I see them as being able to do the same thing. But the argument itself, when you boil it down to, it becomes an argument about betting on reputation versus betting on potential. And I find myself always leaning towards betting towards potential. Why? I think the reason should be obvious. My existence in this space is due to thousands of people choosing not to bet with reputation, the big radio networks in the city, the big media outlets nationally, but to bet on potential. Some kid in a bedroom making videos about the Browns. I'm a bet on that kid. And who knows, that kid might become something one day. So maybe I'm biased when I look at this, but I always think when it comes to somebody whose reputation was earned decades ago, like Joe Flacco's especially, right? If we were talking about Pat Mahomes, obviously you would bet on Pat Mahomes. Nobody would say any otherwise. But when you're arguing about somebody whose reputation was built over a decade ago and hasn't really done anything to add to that reputation in over a decade, I always find it better to bet on potential. Why choose something just because you know it's not going to be good enough versus something that could be enough? That's where I'm at with it. Not saying that Joe Flacco is not going to be fine enough to win this game, but Joe Flacco at his youngest, we know what that is. I don't think that's changed when he's 38. I think he is Joe Flacco. That doesn't mean he can't give you a solid performance. That doesn't mean he can't be good for you. Also, I see this as a bet against age. Like, I feel like if you're betting on Joe Flacco, especially for the rest of the season, you're kind of betting on him to beat Father Time, and Father Time's undefeated. You just can't bet against Father Time. But as far as this game goes, like, that's the big picture of it. As far as this game goes, you can win it with both. We know what this game's going to come down to. I feel like I'm in The Simpsons and somebody's going to tell me to say the line because you know what I'm going to say. You know what I think this game's going to come down to. It's not a mistake. It's not a misstep. It's been what I've been preaching all week. It's been what I've been preaching for 3 weeks. It's the defensive line. The defensive line shows up like the defensive line that we know that they are. The Browns will win this game. If they don't, they won't. The Browns have beaten better teams with worse quarterback play because that defensive line was on fire. They've lost the worst teams with better quarterback play because that defensive line didn't show up. It's about the defensive line. I don't get lost in the weeds with this. It's about the defensive line. The secondary is going to be a nice addition to it. It's going to help the defensive line. Anything that helps this defensive line cook is good. But at the end of the day, we're going to talk about what wins or loses this game as the defensive line, or at least the people who are paying attention should. I don't know. Everybody finds a play call to be mad at or something to blame the game on, but it's going to be about the defensive line. The Browns defensive line wins this battle. If you hear a lot from Myles Garrett, if you hear a lot from Dalvin Thomas, if you hear a lot from Zadarius Smith, if you hear a lot from Obo Okoronkwo, hey, we're probably winning this game. And that's how it's going to go for the rest of the season. We can argue about quarterbacks. We can say our 2 cents. We can say our piece. It's all fine. But don't get it twisted. The choice between DTR and Joe Flacco isn't going to be what gets the Browns to the playoffs. It's going to be a side note. What gets the Browns to the playoffs going to be the efforts of Myles Garrett and this defensive line and this defense. like it's always been. That's why the Browns have 7 wins. That's why the Browns are good right now. It's the defense. Let's not get it twisted. So what I want to see today, I want to see somebody on this defensive line get multiple sacks. I think it's possible. I want to see multiple guys on this defensive line get multiple sacks. Get your money back, right? You done wasted money for 2 weeks. Get it back today. Your reputation is on the line as a defensive line. Your reputation's on the line as a defense. People aren't believing in you anymore. People think you're fraudulent. They're lumping you in the same category as the Pittsburgh Steelers, who lost 2 games in a row to 2 lost teams. 2 win teams. They're lumping you in that same category. Show them you don't belong in that fraudulent category like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Show them who you are. Show them who. I'm glad Trevor Lawrence is playing today. Or I think he'll play today. We'll see if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure Trevor Lawrence is playing today. I'm glad he is. 1, because I don't want to see a player go down. I love the game too much to bet on anybody getting hurt and to celebrate that. That's bullshit to me. I'm glad Trevor Lawrence is playing for that reason, but I'm also glad Trevor Lawrence is playing so we can understand the point that I've been trying to say all year. People out here think the Browns can't win if Trevor Lawrence plays. I think you can. I think your chances to win with Trevor Lawrence in, with Trevor Lawrence out, it's the same. If you get to Trevor Lawrence, he's not going to look like Trevor Lawrence. If you sack Trevor Lawrence, he's not going to look that great. If you get pressure on him, he's not going to look that great. You did the same thing to Brock Purdy. You did the same thing to Lamar Jackson in the 4th quarter of that Baltimore game. We've let MVP caliber quarterbacks, we've made MVP caliber quarterbacks look terrible when this defensive line is on fire. And we let mid quarterbacks look excellent when this defensive line isn't. It's no mistake. That's where it is. The reason Matt Stafford can look like an MVP candidate when he plays the Cleveland Browns, the reason Russell Wilson can look back when he played the Cleveland Browns, it's the same reason why Brock Purdy looked terrible and why Lamar Jackson looked bad in the 4th quarter. Both of them quarterbacks who talked about MVP candidacy before they played the Browns, they had to wait 3 weeks after they played the Browns to get back in that conversation. When this Browns defensive line is good, when this Browns defensive line is getting pressure with their front 4, Jim Schwartz said it himself. So if you don't believe me because you don't think I know enough, okay, listen to Jim Schwartz. He's been saying what I've been saying all year. It's one thing, that's what I like about Jim. Me and him in lockstep on this. We know what it is. Everybody wants to make it about everything else on this defense. We know what it is. It's the defensive line. You get pressure with 4, you can run whatever the fuck you want in the back end. That's the truth. You can have whatever corner you want back there. You got Mike Ford out there on Julio Jones in his prime. If you get pressure with your front 4, it ain't going to matter. But you got to get it. Myles Garrett is a gift to getting pressure with your front 4 because not only can he beat a double team, he demands a double team, sometimes a triple team. So you know you're going to get one-on-ones. You ain't even got to blitz. You ain't got to stunt. You ain't got to twist. You ain't got to get cute to get no blitz, to get no pressure. You going to get one-on-ones. All you got to do is win them. There's a man in your way. There's a man in the way of your reputation. If you're Dalvin Tomlinson, if you're Zadarius Smith, if you're Obo Okoronkwo, if you're Maurice Hurst, if you're Jordan Elliott, if you're Shelby Harris, there is only one man in your way. Are you better than that man? Can you not beat that man? That's it. Miles the only one got to worry about 2-3 people. You only got to worry about one man being in your way. And there's no way you're going to tell me that this offensive line that did not look good last week, has not looked good all year, they got the men to stop you. There's no way. You're going to let Travis Etienne look like a game breaker today? That comes down to the defensive line. We make tackles on the line of scrimmage, we're going to look great. This defense to stop some of the best run games in the world. We also done let some of the weakest ones get off on us. It's about tackling. It's about the Browns. It's about the Browns defense. The Browns defense will dictate this game. The Browns defense will win this game or lose this game. That's what it's on. We could cry about Joe Flacco. We could cry about DTR. We could cry about the play calling on the offense that has like 6 starters left from the beginning of the season. But we know this ain't about the offense anymore. It ain't been about the offense since Deshaun Watson went down. It ain't about the offense. Win or loss, it ain't about the offense. It's about the defense. And the question is, are they going to show up? Are they going to show us who they are? Well, they are going to show us who they are today. If they're a great defense, when you show up in these moments, you don't just show up when you play the Bears. You show up in all of these moments. We need you this week. Show up. But that's how we'll know who this team is. That's what we need to see. So that's what I want to see from this team. I want to see this Browns defense show us who they are. I feel like offensively, no matter who plays quarterback, I think Elijah Moore is going to have a good game. I think David Njoku's going to have a good game. And Jerome Ford going to find a way to get 65 yards. Like, whatever. I don't care about that. It's about the defense. Are you going to let Trevor Lawrence sit back and cook you? Like you've let these other quarterbacks who, quite frankly, aren't of the caliber to be cook you? Are you tired of the disrespect that you have inflicted on yourself? We'll show it today. Show me who you are, Browns defense, because that's what this game's going to come down to. The effort on the Browns defense. Are you contenders or are you pretenders? We'll find out. Because if you lose this game versus the Jaguars and you lose this game versus the Texans, hey, man, you can make the playoffs. Ain't nobody going to think you a contender. But if you win this game against the Jaguars, against Trevor Lawrence, if he plays, oh, you looking like a contender. Now people starting to take you seriously. We need to find out who you are. That's it. That's my thoughts. Check out the live stream. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night. Peace.